Hey, welcome back to this Therapists Deserve Abundance podcast. I am your host, Dr. TK, licensed clinical psychologist and number one therapist business coach. So, I am on YouTube Live today, also streaming on the podcast simultaneously on this wonderful Friday, and I have a very fun and much needed topic that I've actually received a lot of requests to discuss. And so I wanted to go ahead and make this a live training. And so if you are watching this live, if you can head over to the comment box and let us know what is your license type if you are a mental health professional. If you are not, what do you do either as your career, job, and or as a business owner, okay? And so what we're going to talk about today is how I manifested my very first $12,000 launch as it relates to a coaching program. Okay. So if you have not, tuned into any of my other podcast episodes, or maybe you're not following me on Instagram or YouTube, just a little bit of background about myself is that I am a therapist. I have my own solo practice currently. I did have a group practice for about 5 years, learned a lot of things on my own as it related to having profitability in my business. And then I chose to take another step beyond just really relying on my degree to get me through having profits in my business and going beyond Googling and trying to YouTube everything. And I decided to go ahead and invest in myself. And then from there, the sky's the limit. I saw all the things that were possible. And then it was just really me putting my feet to the ground and actually getting to work. So the way that these trainings are set up is that you will see me sometimes looking down and not directly in the camera, because I do have a list of notes that I want to make sure that we cover everything so that I don't leave anything out. Okay. So I have therapist communities. We have our coaching programs, which are the Dope Therapist Academy private practice program, the Elite Coaching Mastermind, which is a year program. I'll get into that in a moment. Then we also have a Therapist Scale Academy, which is more of a secret society, which are only offered about 1 to 2 times per year. And we only opened it up twice in 2021, one to the general public, really to people only on my list, and then also to therapists who were well beyond profitability in their private practice and they were ready for the next step. And so I chose this topic because not only, of course, am I an expert in private practice with solo and group practice, but I'll also help the clinicians in my mastermind and the Therapist Scaling Academy, called TSA, help them understand how to scale their business. Now, if you are an avid student, then I always suggest that people maybe come back to the podcast or the free training and they take notes. But if you have the ability to take notes, just jot down whatever pricks your heart, whatever stands out to you. And it doesn't have to be clearly a strategy, because a lot of the things that I'm going to share today are more coming from a mindset and take action perspective, because I firmly believe that you can have all the strategies you want under your belt, but none of that stuff is going to matter if you don't have the mindset to actually implement the information. So I see that some of my students are on here. Hey, Amber from Cali and Texas. Okay. And she's in our Elite Coaching Mastermind, but she was also in DTA. So some of this stuff, Amber, it's going to sound real familiar, okay? But I'm going to go deep. I'm going to reveal the curtain, and really, I told you I'm going to start taking y'all behind the scenes. And so I've received a lot of questions about what is possible beyond private practice. That's a lot of the questions that I get via Instagram stories and other platforms. And so just to give you an idea of streams of income as it relates to this 12K launch is that, for example, Amber is in the Elite Coaching Mastermind. She has the opportunity in that program to receive coaching from myself, as well as some other perks like live events and more access to myself to help her brand and market her business and streams of income. So whether it be therapeutic, digital, or, live face-to-face services, or whether it be books, like marketing your book, tying it into a funnel, email marketing, like we go over all that, okay? But we really focus on them scaling their time. That is the ultimate goal of the mastermind. And then they just come in with the products or services that they want to offer. Also, when that program is closed, we only open that program once a year. And We have 21 students in that program. Then we also twice a year, and let me know if you're watching, if you're coming to one of the events, put like Las Vegas or New York. We have 2 events twice a year, and it's called our Mastermind pop-up event. So those events are open to the general public, but those events are directly correlated with exposing those clinicians to help them hyper-focus on email marketing, branding their business in terms of a product that they have to come into the room with, because we're going to tear it apart with activities, right? And so they can take action when they leave. And then we also help them build up an ascension model so that they can understand product suites, including private practice and other streams of income. A bonus of coming to those live events is that those clinicians actually get a laser hot seat for about 15 minutes in which they come to the front of the room. They come with a question. I read the question, I put on the timer, and then everybody in the room pours into that particular clinician. And then at that time, the clinician can actually videotape or audio tape their hot seat, but they can't do that for the remaining part of the event. So I say all that to say, I have things in place for therapists to learn, whether it be profitability in private practice with the infrastructure, or learning the basic fundamentals of learning how to scale your business, or actually taking action. You're making consistent income in your business, and now you actually are able to fund your own ventures and be able to earn those streams of income. Okay. So all of those events are either closed or sold out. But I did want to put that out there because a lot of therapists only think that I only do private practice, okay? So I don't want to leave you hanging. Hence, I'm going to talk about the 3 things of what I did back in 2019 to manifest my very first group coaching program and 12K launch, okay? So I'm going to focus on 3 areas if you're taking notes. It is called clarity, massive action, and declaration. I'm going to talk about clarity, massive action, and declaration. So first, let's talk about clarity. I'm just going to say the word I because I'm going to use myself clearly as the example. So I became at that time in 2019 very clear about the product that I wanted to offer and whom I wanted to serve. That was a very difficult time for me, even up until the beginning of 2020, to be honest, because I went in and out of really niching down because I was very scared, like a lot of entrepreneurs, but they don't want to say it out loud, of niching down because I was afraid that what if, they don't want what I have to offer? What if I'm not able to cater an offer that I can deliver on to them because I'm not going to offer something that I'm not the expert in, right? What if it doesn't make me enough money? What if I have to go back to my 9-to-5 job? So what I was battling with in 2019 is definitely having a love for serving therapists, but also on the side doing other things related to teaching people about business, but just to the general public, okay? So I had to become clear on what my offer was, meaning what value can I give to someone else, not what can I sell someone else, right? And what they wanted, okay? So I had to conduct what we call marketing research to determine if the product that I had, if it was actually desired by other people. So that's I'm gonna say a roadblock that a lot of entrepreneurs make, is that they just want to sell their product and you haven't done any research to see if your ideal client, if you have one, actually needs and wants what you have to offer. Because in marketing, it doesn't matter how beautiful packaged and branded your program is, or your book is, or how beautiful your website is, because people will spend all this money beautifying their website and ain't nobody going to your website. You don't have any traffic. You don't know how to market. You don't even know who your ideal client is, and you don't have a valued offer. So as I started to conduct research with my targeted audience, which at that time it was therapists, I had to determine if they desired what I knew I wanted my offer to be. So I got on the phone, not on Zoom, in 2019. I got on the phone, I scheduled 15-minute, what I call discovery calls. And discovery calls included a set of questions that they would get before they got on the phone with me, so that I can know, kind of like a consultation and therapy, exactly who I'm speaking to, so that I can also determine if they need to be on the phone with me, because some people may just want to get on the phone with me, but they're not interested in like how I prompted them to get on the phone with me, because they knew that I was doing marketing research for a upcoming therapist business coaching program. Okay. So I got on the discovery call with them. I was able to ask them questions specifically to my ideal clients. I did have to decline some people with furthering the conversation, because I found that Some of them were trying to just milk me for information. And so now if I ever bring back, because I don't do them anymore, if I ever bring back discovery calls, I make it very clear it's not a coaching call. I will help you get aha moments, maybe a small transformation, but I'm not going to break down your entire business. Okay. So I had to also, with clarity, get out of my own way, especially around my money narrative. Sometimes you may launch something and the main reason why you can't sell it is because you believe that somebody else won't pay for it. So because I am a therapist and I have been where some of my clients are, I know that we were not taught, unless somebody sat you down at some point, maybe in your personal life, we were not ever taught how to invest in ourselves. We were never taught the value of investing in yourself and even how to find someone to invest in for us to get what we need back out. And so I projected for a long time my lack of, in the beginning of my coaching business, my lack of understanding investment. I projected that out, to people and they don't know it, to other people. And the reason why I'm sharing this very vulnerable side of me is because sometimes the reason you can't offer even your therapy services at the rate that you should is because you are projecting your money narrative onto your ideal client. Put in one in the comment box if that makes sense to you, or you're like, oh, that hit, right? The reason why people aren't paying you the fee that you're worth, not the fee that you want, but the fee that your services are actually valued at and that it's your sticker price, is because you don't believe that they can pay you. So if you don't believe that they can pay you, guess what? It's going to show up on your facial expression. It's going to show up in those consultation calls. It's going to show up in your copy on your sales page, meaning the words that offer the value for your program. It's going to show up in your webinar slides. It's going to show up in your freaking program that you're not confident with how you show up. Okay. So I had to learn how to get out of my own way, especially around the money narrative, and offer the program at the rate that came to my mind in terms of back then, how much I wanted to offer it for. Now, I want to be very clear. Before I first offered this program, I ran it through like a mastermind that I had been a part of, right? For like something else. It wasn't for like coaching therapists. It was for like speaking and writing my first book. And when I broke down my first, and I'll show you how I did it, but I broke down my first sales page and everything they were going to get. And I shared it with, this is very important, I shared it with non-therapists. Because I was really curious to see if, and these are coaches, I wanted to see if they would be intrigued by what I shared, because the bottom line is, even beyond a therapist, I'm still talking about branding, marketing, infrastructure of a business, your operating system in your business. Like, they understand all that. So when I shared it with one of the coaches in the program, and she charges people $3,000 a month to get 2 sessions with her. And she is well worth it. Believe me, I've heard stories, okay? But she sat me down and she said, I need to talk to you, sweetheart. She's an older lady. She was like, I need to talk to you. And I wholeheartedly respect her perspective. And she's winning. That's all I'll say. You know what I'm saying? In her business and in her personal life, okay? And she said, I need to talk to you. And I said, oh, okay. And she said, there's a problem with this price. And I'm like, oh, well, what do you mean? She said, you are so undervaluing yourself. This goes way beyond your degree. Takesha, they call me TK, but this goes way beyond your degree. You don't understand your value. Did you recognize the faces when you were sharing what you were going to offer and you were asking us, like, is the price point too high? Hell, it's too low. And I said, well, what do you think the program is worth? Not how much I should charge. Those are 2 different things. She said, based off of this, and y'all, this was my very first cohort. She said, based off of what you're giving them and the accessibility, because back then I didn't understand access. She said, based off the accessibility, this program in our industry would easily go valued at $40,000. I said, my price point was under 4 digits. I'll just keep it at that. Okay. So I just want to give you an understanding too, because a lot of people in our community sometimes even have a struggle with the products that I offer, because I know I overvalue and I overdeliver, but sometimes they are just looking at it from in our therapist industry. And all my mastermind students, some of them are on here and they've heard me, or even you've been at a live event and my friend Dr. Roche talks about it. We always laugh, and we don't mean to be disrespectful, but we were like, even for our mastermind students, I'm like, do y'all understand that I pay $30,000 and I get 1 session a year? and everything else is in a group, do you understand that if you were in this other person's program that don't even cover half of what I give you access to, that they get one-on-one coaching and their program is $75,000? That is an industry norm. So, all that to say, from the beginning, I was told that I was undervaluing myself. So I hope that, put it too in the comment box if you feel like I'm speaking to you and you know that either the services that you want to offer or products, or a product or service that you want to put out there, you know that the price that you have in your head is definitely too low. And I'm not saying that you got to go for the jugular all at once, because I went in stages with increasing my rate. But at the same time, if you are in one of my programs and I do speak to you indirectly, kind of like this on a coaching call, take it and sit with it and journal on it. Because if you got pricked by the story I even just shared, then that means something is wrong with your rates, AKA your confidence, okay? So one of the things, just wrapping up clarity before I move to the next section, one of the things I also had to consider, now that I know who I want to serve and what I want to do, I also had to look at who was already doing what I wanted to do. Like, they were doing literally legit what I wanted to do that I can learn from. So see, that's another nugget right there. Please don't try to learn from yourself, because you ain't at that level. Don't try to learn from your colleagues that are either at the same level, if not behind you. Why are you going and asking them about how much you should price your services for? They are underpricing their services. So why would you ask someone that? That is not where you want to go, or at least has the same resources. That's one thing we share too in our community. Like, don't be surprised if over time, when you are learning these new even words or verbiage in marketing, don't be surprised if you cannot hold a conversation with your friends anymore that was in your inner circle before you joined my program. It's just like you going and talking to your family about therapy. They have no idea what you mean by affect. I always use that word because people are like, affect? And we like, no, affect. Like, what's your body showing? And they like, what the hell is that? Right? So it's just like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you actionable steps for each section. So actionable steps for clarity. And this is where, if you want to take notes, by all means do so. I had to take action. Remember, I was looking for someone who was where I wanted to go. So at this time, my son was only 3 months pregnant. 3 months pregnant. My son was like 3 months old. I was just coming like out of the C-section maternity leave, right? And I saw this ad come up, and it was for, do you want to create your first online course? And I'm like, yes. Because I was just at home, like building my private practice, working on my group practice. But I'm like, I want to venture out and have other streams of income. And so I went to the webinar. I signed up without any hesitation, which meant that I'm a green lighter. Like, I was just waiting for the teacher to show up. I dove into the self-paced online course. I did not get access to one-on-one. So I know that some people have to have a certain type of level of motivation to be able to do that. Not everybody is equipped to be able to go through an online course without any accountability. I am my own accountability, and I know that that is a strength that I have, okay? I also showed up to the group coaching calls. I didn't mind if it was 600, 500, 300 people on a call. If I had a question, I either am going to get my question there, or I'm going to put it on the Facebook group. Or for me, because it was a lot of people at times, I would actually follow the rules and pre-submit the questions, because her promise to us was she's going to answer the pre-submitted questions before she answers the questions about people who just show up and ask a question on the spot. So I would always pre-submit my question, okay? I also became, because of my results and going all in, right? I became one of her first case studies in her current over $20 million empire. Did y'all hear that? This coach in the last 5 years has made over $20 million. Her first $10 million was from the course that I took, which shows you that if you are driven and you can be focused and master, and I hope that my students are on here hearing this, because I tell you this over and over again, if you can master one thing, get very good at it, finally get to the rate that you're supposed to be charging, deliver the product, get testimonials, get social proof, fine tune your system to the point where it can run by itself, then you should have no problem bringing in money and then go entertain other streams of income. But you can't expect to make all of this money in all the streams of income if you're stretching yourself thin in like 5 different areas. You're human. You're not a superhero. You might be a superhero to your kids, but in real life, we all bleed the same color. Okay? So I end up going all in because I spoke up. I'm a very outgoing person. I don't mind sharing my wins. Is that I was part of her case study in her online course, and I found myself in there like, oh my God, that's my picture. Like for my very first branding photo shoot right before I had Avery, And so I saw this coach get to her first million. And within 4 years, she got to beyond 20 million. Okay. But again, the moral of the story is find people that are 8 to 10 steps ahead of you. Come on, 20 million. Yes. Right. So I'm also going to share with you the investment, because this is a piece that typically business coaches don't talk about. They just say, I invested, but they don't tell you what they invested. And what I'm going to share with you today is how some of these investments were beyond tangible, beyond money. So this particular season of my life, when I had to become clear about what I wanted to do to launch my first program, my investment was time, a lot of it with an infant, not even a toddler, and $2,000. I paid in full, because I had it, $2,000 to join this program because I didn't want the extra interest. I'm like, nah, I got the $2,000. Let me just go ahead and pay it. And guess what? I also firmly believe that when people pay, they pay attention. Let me say that again. When people pay, they pay attention. A lot of times the reason why you're not even putting in work as you should is because you showed up to my free webinar, but at the end of the day, you have nothing to lose, right? So you could just go on about your business, but your destiny is calling. So maybe you'll come back to another one. Number 2, I want you definitely to write this down. #NMW, no matter what attitude, no matter what. That's NMW. Okay. I took a no matter what attitude approach to get to my first 12K launch. So the first thing I did is I reflected on any experiences that I had about what I experienced with opening up my first solo practice. Because remember, my first program was catering to therapists about private practice, right? I also reviewed the feedback from some beta clients that I got when I closed down my group practice, because some of those clinicians became my beta. They were like, well, can you help me go out on my own since you don't know when you're going to come back? Because I didn't know because of all the health conditions that I was experiencing at the time. So I made them where they asked to be my beta. But then in the midst of, even after Avery, I had, in the midst of that, I had like one-on-one coaching clients like here and there, right? So I wanted to go behind the scenes and figure out like, why were they stuck? So do your marketing research, talk to people. Don't just try to think you know what people want just because you want it, okay? I also reviewed my previous clients' pain points. What kept them up at night? Why can't they get profits in their business? Why can't they get clients? What is their narrative? What is their money narrative? Okay. I'll also ask them the miracle question. If you had your ideal business, what would your life be like? Not just your business, because I want to see how their business can influence their lifestyle, because that's what I'm about, is abundance across all levels. Okay. I also invested in personal development, an online course. That again, out of 8 weeks of a self-paced online course, we got a telephone group call just to share our wins. It wasn't a coaching call. It was a reflective telephone group conference call. So I hope that if you're in my community or you've heard about my programs, that now you got a little bit more respect for all the things that I give, that if we're looking at the industry norm, that I probably would be looked down upon and frowned upon to my peers, because I'm told over and over again, oh, boo, you giving too much. And I know I am. And at some point, let's just put this out there, that will scale back. That doesn't mean the value in what you're going to get as far as the transformation goes scale back, but in terms of how much time I put into some of my programs, I'm just creating systems to scale my time more. Okay. So I know I give a lot. So I invested in personal development to learn more about laws of attraction, manifestation, and making my future goals. So in terms of actionable steps, this is what I did. And some of you may have heard this before, but hopefully now it's all coming together and it's making sense. Okay. Is that I created a vision board. I was in my previous home, and let's just say over here was like this big old piece of blue construction paper that I got at the 99-cent store. Okay. I decided that I wanted 12 students. So declare the goal. Okay. I wanted 12 students in my first beta program. Okay. So what I did, I went on Pinterest time and time again every day on my phone and on the computer, and I found pictures of people who would resemble what I knew I wanted in my program. I'm all about vision board. You can't see some of them now, they off to the side, but they're here all over my office. Okay. Even like right here. Okay. So I found pictures on Pinterest. I gave these therapists their titles, like, oh, she a school psychologist. Oh, she a LPC. Oh, she a psychologist. Oh, she's a LCSW. Like, I gave all these people titles. I also identified what their current salary is, like what is their desire? Do they want to go part-time or full-time in their mental health business? I also determined where I wanted these people to come from, like New York, Atlanta, Texas, Philly. Like, I named the states. I just made them up. Like, that's what came to me, and that's what pricked my heart. So I got all up into it. I printed out their picture on my home printer. I typed out the description and I pasted it on the wall. Put a 2 in the comment box if you think that is so creative. Like, maybe that's something that you will try, is like, can you get a visual of the ideal client that you're truly trying to manifest in your therapy practice or in your program or to buy your book? And this is why in those assessment of your mental health, I specifically tell therapists, give yourself 25 points if when you describe your ideal client to me, I can actually close my eyes and truly visualize them, not just their ethnicity and their gender. Okay. So at the end of the day, I reviewed that vision board every single day that I went into my physical office. I declared that those clients will show up in my program. I worked day and night. This is when it really, really went down. I worked day and night creating the following. And if you don't know any of these words, this is why you're probably not ready to launch an online course or just jump into a webinar. Okay. So I created my very first CRM. I created my very first set of webinar slides, and granted, some of this stuff was in those courses, some of it was not. And because I didn't have one-on-one coaching, I had to go figure this shit out. Okay. So, I created my first webinar slides. I created my pre and post emails, which calculated to almost 20 emails, because when you sign up for a webinar, you forget, out of sight, out of mind. And I needed to be in your face. Like, oh, you coming? So hence, now I hope that some of you are understanding why I send so many reminders, especially even after something that I create is starting. Like, it will be an automation that I created beforehand, but it'll say, you coming? And some people reply and say, oh, I'm on my way. And they don't know that it's my automated system, but I did go and create it. I just scheduled those things out. So I created all of my own emails. Delegation was not part of my system yet. I created my own sales funnel, meaning when somebody goes here, then it triggers this system, then it triggers this system, then it triggers this system, then it triggers this system. Yes, systems or things in a system. Okay. Then I created my checkout page from scratch. I had to make sure that the sales were going to go through. I had to make sure that if I had a payment plan, what was my recovery process if somebody didn't pay? Because again, I'm by myself. I had to create an onboarding process, meaning when students join my program, do they get certain things one after the other triggered automatically? But back then I was doing it manually so that they can know what they're supposed to do next. Okay. And then I also pre-recorded every single module before they showed up to the week before. So I pre-recorded the intro, orientation, and the first module. After our first call, I received feedback, and then I had 5 days with my editing, which meant that it was not edited at all. Like, you know what I'm saying? I did probably 2 minutes of editing, beginning and the end of something, like for me to stay like record on my computer, no expensive software. I recorded it, I believe, on Zoom. Okay. And I just uploaded it to the portal, and I created a workbook on Canva. Okay. So in total, we had no less than 7 modules, but I know that it was more than 7 because a lot of bonus modules start coming up as I, again, started to still do my marketing research with the clients who were already, in the program, clearly, right? But I'm just letting you know because I'm going to go into the launch. I was creating them week by week. So I learned to follow the steps in the portal that I had access to. You have to be motivated to go back and visit what you invested in. I showed up to the coaching calls that I had that were in a group format, and I asked questions on every single call, which is why the coaches know my name. I'm cool. Like, some people may say, oh, you the teacher's pet. Shit, I paid $1,000, $2,000, and now hell, way more money than that. And you think I'm about to just sit here and not ask no questions? You are out of your mind. especially because this is very foreign to us. Like, we didn't go to school for this, okay? So I also, along with following the steps in the portal, I use the personal development, okay, to listen to every morning as my morning routine so that my mind can get focused on the actionable steps. So I hope that you saw how I just merged that. I made a goal. I had a visual reminder of who I wanted in my program to manifest every day. So it was a constant reminder. Then I went back to my coaching programs. I went back to the portal and I consumed the information to implement it day after day. There was not a day missed, I promise you. And then I would show up to the coaching call, ask questions, and then I would also do personal development in the morning so that I can stay focused, because with a baby in the house breastfeeding, you can get unfocused. You know what I'm saying? So I'm listening literally. If you a mom, I mean, I ain't no shame about talking about breastfeeding. I'm pumping or breastfeeding sitting on my couch with my headphones on, taking notes over here while pump is sitting right here. I ain't got no shame in my game. You got to do what you got to do when you want the outcome that you want. So what was that investment worth? Days and nights of lost sleep combined with breastfeeding a child, waking up, and also being a wife and a mom still. And then also still creating systems for my group practice, because eventually I was going to go back to a practice, and then also doing other things to run my business when I, can make money, right? So I used my personal development course to learn how to do my morning routine, and the investment was time. And that manifestation course was $1,000, but that did not include, I didn't calculate none of that for this free training. That didn't include all of those systems that I just mentioned that I had to use for that webinar, like email marketing, checkout system, and webinar system. I upgraded for Canva so I can get certain pictures, like all those things, right? So I'm looking at the comments. Yeah, Bob Proctor is epic, and he passed away, unfortunately, but he has some very great work, okay? So now let's get into the last section. Let me do a check-in. Put a 1 in the comment box if you are enjoying the information right now, because if you just joined me, I see a few more people have joined me. I've already talked about clarity, actionable steps with clarity, and the investment. I've talked about the no matter what attitude, actionable steps that I did regarding manifestation and putting in work from an online course that I invested in. And my investing for that manifestation piece was $1,000 plus lost sleep, and a lot of time and supplies and systems. So the third area that I'm going to cover, and the last one, is declaration. I like to say it is already done. Okay. Declaration that it is already done. So what does declaration mean for me to have this first $12,000 launch? And I'm really going to bring it home for y'all. All right. So like I said, I recorded videos for my course, but guess what? I also had to, for the launch. Now we're talking about I'm in the launch. The previous point was I'm getting prepared for the launch. Hell, I ain't even got in front of people yet, and I did all that, right? So I recorded videos for my first webinar. Meaning I recorded videos to send to people via email saying, hey, 15 minutes, we about to start. Like, this was all part of my online course launch system, right? I also sent videos to people who didn't show up, okay? Now let's get into how I showed up during those webinars. So I smiled and I clicked publish in terms of those videos, right? I smiled and I just started the webinar. I did approximately, y'all, 5 to 6 webinars in less than 2.5 weeks to get 12 people. And some of y'all want 30, 100 clients. You want 100K launches. Now, granted, it does depend on the price of your product, okay? But I wanted 12 people. And I didn't get 12 people on my first try. If you don't know webinar stats, the conversion typically is that on the live web. Well, first of all, let me back up. You will have approximately 10 to 20% of people show up to your webinar out of 100% of people who signed up. Then out of that 10 to 20%, expect in the norm, you can be outside the norm, but in the norm, you may only have 3 people that actually convert while you're on the webinar that buy it when you say buy now, right? Then you may have up to 6 to 7% that goes up to 10%, up 100% of the people who attended the webinar that actually will buy it via your email marketing after. So for some of you, I really hope that you sit down with what I'm about to tell you, because I'm about to break down for you how hard this ish really was, but I couldn't stop. Okay. And this is why I can now say it with ease and grace. And my clients say, well, damn, you make it sound easy, but boo, it wasn't. Because even the students in that program, and some of them are on here, because I ain't even said what the program was, right? But some of them were part of that program and they had no clue what the hell was happening behind closed doors. So let's go over these actionable steps of 5 to 6 webinars in 2.5 weeks, okay? So I showed up even when nobody showed up to my webinar. I spoke to an invisible crowd of 1,000 people when I only had 3 people show up to a webinar. I followed up with people when they did not show up to ask them why they didn't show up. Do you want to watch a replay or do you want to come to another one? I'm going to have another one because y'all don't even watch the replay. Follow up is in the penny is in the follow up. The penny is in the follow up. If you don't follow up, people forget about you because they didn't know you before they went to your webinar or signed up for it. I showed up as a confident, energized individual, and I really honestly spoke to my old self. What would the old Takesha need in order to see that I'm speaking to her? Because I was a lot of the therapists that I encounter with in terms of lack of knowledge related to investing, not understanding that I need help, not realizing that I need more than what my graduate school provided for me. And let's be real, there's not a lot of people who are therapists and coaches and that are winning, not just giving out information, right? So I was also available to answer questions to people who were interested, meaning I was not untouchable, but I did have boundaries. You can't just text me. You can't call me. People didn't have my phone number. I don't respond immediately to DM. Even if you're my student right now and I see your DM, sometimes I don't respond right away. 1, because I don't want my students DMing me. But 2, if I do want to contact you through another median or my team, I'm going to specifically say, 1, don't DM me because it might get missed. Because out of sight, out of mind, I see it, and I'm like, oh, I got to have time to respond because I actually want to give them an articulated thought. So I need to think on this. But hell, then I go about my business. That's why I say to my coaching clients, do not DM me for coaching advice. I promise you, more than likely, I'm not going to get back to you on that platform. We have systems for that, right? So I showed up confident, energized, and I really spoke to my old self, right? I was available to answer questions and I wasn't untouchable. I decreased the initial price. Let me vulnerable moment. I did decrease the price because I lacked confidence in my pricing. That hurt my business. But guess who learned from it? Me. And I never did that shit again. Ever. But I lowered the price because I thought with my money narrative that they couldn't afford it. When they never said that they wouldn't afford it or they couldn't pay for it. So don't beat your clients to the punch, okay? But nevertheless, despite me decreasing the price, literally live on the webinar, right? I decreased I said that. So I used the first cohort as my beta because I realized that my individual clients that I had before them actually lacked community. This is why I'm a really big advocate about community. Okay. So community is one thing that I believe a lot of coaching clients minimize the most. Most people question, I don't need no group coaching program. I don't want the group coaching program. You have no idea what the real goal is in a group program. Am I minimizing one-on-one? No. But what I will say, and I've said this on a previous live training and to my mastermind students, when you sign up to do one-on-one, you better get ready to get your damn feet to that ground and go running on a long marathon, because don't take my time and don't utilize your time just for me to give you tips and for you not to do your homework. Don't even pay me. That's a waste of my time. Don't pay me for that. So a lot of clinicians will say, no, I need one-on-one coaching, or I am very clear when programs are in a group and they show up and then ask for a refund saying, I thought it was individual. And I'm like, how? But nevertheless, give you your money back. But I'm always curious. What do you think you're not going to get in the group? Granted, I know people need to ask questions on a more personal side, meaning some people don't want to speak in a group. I get that. I get that individual coaching allows you to dive deep into what you need to cover. I get that. But what I am saying is that a lot of just general people don't even sit down and recognize what the benefits are of being in a community. That means that you're not building your wealth by yourself. That means that you're talking to like-minded people in which y'all can exchange information and talk the same language, the same lingo. So I believe that because a lot of people don't understand that group programs also add a added bonus that individual does not give you. Like when our coaching call is over, it's over. We're not chi-chi and a ha-ha and like on the weekend. Your coaching session is over. And honestly, community is what makes the biggest impact because your community doesn't let you fail. Did you hear me? Your community won't allow you to fail if you get a good one, and we have good ones. We have excellent ones, okay? So you don't want to grow and scale your business by yourself. I can be a avid testament to that, and that podcast is a coming because my mastermind students heard it in November in Vegas, and I became very vulnerable. You do not want to get to a certain point in your business, in your career, in your monetary wealth, and you are by yourself. That is the most loneliest, most saddest shit ever. And does that mean that you won't grow? No. But it's a lot more funner when you can bring people with you and they growing too, right? So what was my investment for this webinar, this launch? It was my confidence. I had to fix it. I was lonely. I didn't have nobody to talk to. I was starting to build another stream of income that nobody could understand, even therapist friends. I became sad because I couldn't talk to nobody outside of people in the group coaching program, which became cool. You know, I dealt with frustration because I got off a webinar, nobody showed up, but I still did it because I said, well, God is watching. You know what I'm saying? Like, he see how I show up. He's going to reward me. I don't care how long it takes. He's going to reward me. Okay. And then I gave up time. I gave up money. I had to buy the systems to get the outcome that I wanted. This shit ain't free. And I lost sleep. So why am I sharing all this with you? Therapists can be very successful in private practice. But do you know what it truly takes to go beyond that in net 6 figures, right? I also, and these are my perspectives, you don't have to agree with them, okay? I also believe, just from marketing research, so that's where my data comes from, is the therapists that I've spoke to and how they showed up in our programs, is that a large amount of therapists also just don't truly understand, because they've never been taught, how to invest in themselves beyond their degree or their licensure. Therapists also, I'm about to come after some of y'all, all right? Therapists also want to value their private pay fee services for therapy or other products or services, but yet they have not ever and are not willing to invest at least the same amount that they're asking for someone else into their business. So if you charging somebody $100, when was the last time that you paid at minimum $100 to help you? Whether it was your own therapy, whether it was coaching for life coaching, whether it was paying for a system, delegating tasks, hiring a VA, purchasing a program from a coach. When was the last time that you invested what you want somebody to invest in you? You can't sit here and be on a damn soapbox having saying you got a dope private practice and people should pay you your value when, first of all, you don't even know how to articulate your value. If I asked you beyond a 45-minute session and you gonna help me with your CBT techniques, how you gonna fix my problem, what's your answer? Can you tell me? In DTA, they got a framework. In coaching programs for the Mastermind, when they have digital products, I help them create their syllabus, their framework. When they have groups that are therapeutic, what is your framework? So if you don't have the framework, you don't have value. If you don't have value, who the F is about to pay you $1,000 for you to help them fix their problem? You can't even tell them how you're going to fix their problem, okay? So I've heard therapists complain about a webinar that's gonna teach them, and it don't have to be my webinar, but they've complained about how a webinar, like I've hosted a webinar on growth versus scale, and I've literally had people DM me on Facebook from maybe a Facebook ad and say, does it come with a workbook? Did you read the sales page? And I'm being quite honest. I'm not throwing no shade at nobody, but read what you're investing in before you inbox me. I created as detailed as possible the benefits, which are the check boxes. It is 2 hours. It does not come with CEs. It is or is not recorded. Who am I? What are you going to get? You're going to get a workbook. It's going to be emailed to you, or it's going to be delivered to you on the live webinar, or it's going to be put in Kajabi. I outlay all of that shit, right? So if I were a college professor, what you're really telling me is that you are a student who's going to show up to the day we have a test and you didn't know there was no goddamn test. You are the student that shows up late for your class presentation and you left your group hanging, your community, because you didn't read the syllabus to know that your presentation was due today. So guess what? Your group don't get an F, you get a goddamn F because they voted you as a slacker. Yes, I am that college professor in which when I give my students group task, they get to vote on the slacker in their group. And if there is a unanimous vote, that person automatically, if the group even lets them join in, if they decide to let them join in, that's their problem, right? Because they can straight up tell me like they ain't did shit. And I can tell based off the work they ain't did nothing because their name ain't even on the slide, right? So if their name is on the slide and you let them present their little section that maybe they rehearsed on their own, but they forgot it was due today, their grade will go automatically from whatever the group got to a whole grade down. Yes, I am that type of goddamn professor. But don't you be that type of student. Don't you be that type of business owner. So yes, I'm coming for y'all. I keep saying that because my DTA students keep saying like, damn, you coming for me. You know what I'm saying? If I'm coming for you and it pricks your heart, then that means that this message was for you today. Okay? So with the growth versus scale, somebody will say, well, I read everything and it sounds good, but why it gotta cost $197? I can take a CE course and it costs me $30 to learn 3 CEs and learn more in-depth techniques about TFCBT. Well, guess what, boo? I ain't talking about TFCBT. Anybody, any one of y'all on here right now can go, if you're licensed, and create a CE workshop. Facts. Just get a contract, collaborate with a company, and do that shit, okay? I am not doing anything related to therapeutic strategies. Why? Because I choose in my business to be the outlier. My students have asked me, can you do something on suicide awareness? I got to meet the criteria. No. Why not? No. You can go do it. I'm not doing it. Why? Because my passion is on teaching therapists the biggest thing that's going to prevent them from getting clients in their seat to do the suicide awareness therapy, right? Why would you want a business if you don't know how to get clients? You got to do both sides. So with the growth versus scale, if it's $197, but with the information, it's going to show you something that you've never been exposed to, even to just compare where are you at when you saying you scaling your business because you're taking vacations, but you're not. You growing your business, you earn money, but you doing everything yourself. That is grow, not scale. Know the difference. If you don't know the difference, when I have it again, pay the money, show up because you're investing your time to get something out of it. And I got plenty to give you. I've also had therapists tell me that they want a client to pay them $200 to $250 for therapy, or they want a speaking engagement for $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, but they lack themselves the ability to articulate the value that they can give someone else, or they don't even got a damn speaker's kit. Why don't you have a speaker's kit? Because you don't know what goes in a speaker's kit. Why don't you know what go in it? Because you ain't invested in it to get to know what's in it. Okay? So I wanted to share with you today, as a recap, okay, what really goes on behind closed doors in a business that online you like, oh, she thriving, but you ain't seen nights where I cry. You ain't seen nights where I'm up after I feed my family, after seeing clients, and then it's maybe my night to give my son a bath, and I want to give him a bath because I want to be involved in his life. Just because I'm a business owner and I work from home does not mean that I'm not a wife or a mother. Facts. That is one thing that I definitely said when I first started. I will not give up one of these roles. I have the ability, and I'm giving you the permission that you deserve all three. You never have to choose. And that is all down my page. Okay? So I wanted to share with you what really goes on behind closed doors with building a profitable business, right? Especially from scratch. Because y'all just see that last slide in the DTA webinar, like, damn, she got a 200K launch, which is AKA a 200K month with cash collected and predictable income over the next 12 months with this program. Oh my God, I want that, but you don't want none of this other stuff though. This is a sneak peek. Okay? This is 50 minutes of a free training that I've given you an overview. We ain't really got deep. Okay? So I wanted you to see it from scratch. And I also wanted you to see right now that I am still a work in progress. I am always evolving and looking for how can I, and enjoy the fruits of my labor. Because never, let me just say this, never neglect where you are right now. Sometimes we're so focused and we're studious as therapists that we're always looking for the next grade. And I'm asking you to stop sometimes focusing on the next grade and pay attention to the grade that you're currently in. Because sometimes we don't take advantage of our current grade and then we wonder why it's taken from us. Enjoy it while also planning for the next stage, okay? So at the end of the day, your girl had a good run of that first $12,000 launch. So some of y'all may have guessed it, but I'm gonna share this with you. I had my first 12 students in my first cohort. I had my 12 pictures of all women, Black clinicians in my cohort on that blue vision board. The first cohort was the first year that I launched what you now know as the Dope Therapist Academy, which Amber was a part of. That's why I call her my OG. Dr. Rochelle was one of my first out-of-state one-on-one coaching clients that was like on the East Coast, because everybody that I had was like in California, Vegas, Arizona, and like somewhat Midwest. But I had nobody on the East Coast, but I made a vision board for that too, right? So that was when I birthed the Dope Therapist Academy. Everything I just shared with you was in the works of the first cohort of DTA, okay? And I know that it's only up from here. DTA cannot get worse. It can only get better. So I invest always in the next level that I want to go in terms of my vision, okay? So let me ask you, how much have you invested in your degree and in your license and in your CEs? And you may be like, well, I invested like 5 to 6 years. If we count them all together, 24 with a doctorate degree. I've invested 6 months of studying, right? I've invested all of this money every 2 years to get the best of the best, I hope, CE workshops. But then my second question to you is, if you can do all that for your license to stay current, but you want a business, how much time and money, because it does take money, how much have you invested in your business? Think about it. And if the answer is 0, you need to do some reflection. If you've invested in DTA, but you don't want to invest anymore, but you're wondering how to launch a course, no online course coach is going to teach you that for free. They may do a webinar to show you part of their framework, but they're not going to give you their framework with the how on a free webinar. So please don't get it mixed up. When I share this information, you do not get the intellectual property of what my students get in my program. Some people really believe, like, because I have so much information to give, that I must eventually give them the whole DTA blueprint. It got to be somewhere in the 200 plus podcast episodes or in the YouTube videos. No. You will hear what my students do. You will hear how they win with the outcome of what we give them in the program. But I will never, ever share the details of what they invested their time and money in. That's facts, right? So with whatever you've invested in thus far, and let me be very clear, you can invest all the money in the world, but if you choose not to invest your time into utilizing and implementing the things that you've learned from this investment, then that means you're not going to grow as well. So with your investments, does it match how much you want other people to invest in you for products or services? If you want somebody to pay you $2,000 to go speak, have you paid any coach for $2,000 to coach you how to speak? To coach you how to put together your package? Have you paid that? I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? So any questions? So let me go over here to this comment box, right? So I got Amber hearts, right? In that order, right? I love these comments, right? We got East Coast in the house. Hey, Patricia. All right. And then we got a whole yeses. And then, 20K in the past 4 years. Come on. So if you've already invested, awesome. What are you doing with it? That is the ultimate massive action question, because remember, I went over clarity, no matter what attitude. And then I also went over declaration, but in those I covered actionable steps that I took to use what I invested in. And then I also shared the tangible and intangible investments that I made. Okay. So I'm glad that you all tuned in live. Put a 1 in the comment box if you enjoy when I go live, right? The speaker's kit has been removed. So Y'all better ask me that on a coaching call. You better talk to one of your DTA partners. That's all I'll say. DTA Speakers Kit has been removed. We gave a month because that expired actually in the 2021 cohort. So let me just say this. We have bonuses for our programs, especially DTA. That's the program that runs all year. And I am very clear when I let students know, like, yo, these bonuses will not be available all the time. So like when somebody is always expressing interest in a program and they're like, oh, but I still want that bonus. Yeah, that was like January 2021. You know what I'm saying? Some things may stay in the portal. If they don't, I let you know, like, they're gone, right? So I see with the ones you guys are enjoying the live podcast. So that makes me happy because that means that I'm going to show up and keep doing them, right? So let me just share with you this. And this is for people who also are on my text list. And if you're not, it's the number right there on the bottom of the screen. Just text abundance to get daily affirmations. If you signed up to show up to the 3-day boot camp and you're on the text list, you're still going to get the business affirmations because I want to be your personal development and that's free. Okay. But if you want to show up to the 3-day boot camp, whether you're part of DTA or not, so your question, when is the next DTA? So we will be having a very, very big virtual party. Okay. It is going to be 3 days. The workshops will be no more than an hour. I'm thinking about like 30 to 45 minutes each. We are going to cover, the first one is always assess the health of your business. So even if you are part of DTA and you're there, still assess where you at because we want to see if you grew. But we're also going to talk about new technology and how you show up in terms of wealth mindset. We're also going to talk about how to become the best version of you and showing up in a world where we're in a telehealth space. So there are going to be, if you came before last year, the last one we had was like in September. And then before that, we did one in June. Yeah, because I launched it from Walt Disney World, right? So we're going to have it February 28th. If you go to the link, drtk.com/links, if you're listening on the podcast, it's also in the show notes. And I've also included it in the YouTube show notes. When you go, the difference with this one and our last one is that we will not be hosting it on, unless Facebook or something go down, we will not be hosting it on YouTube. It will not be republished on YouTube. It will not be republished on my general Facebook page. It will only be in that Facebook group. Only. We give out workbooks. The workbooks will only be available until after the boot camp is over. Okay. So if you go to that link, this is the same link on the link in my bio on Instagram. So I'll just use that same link. If you click on virtual party, sign up there, right? It's going to go to a thank you page. Make sure you bookmark that thank you page because that's where I'm going to put the replays that will only be available. And that usually leads into the opening of the DTA. So as of right now, DTA is shut down unless you went to a previous webinar or something. Okay. DTA is going to be shut down for maintenance for the next 2.5 weeks. We're focusing on our students. And we're going to welcome a new cohort in March. So the live boot camp will be, you'll see the dates on there. It'll be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Even if you can't make it live, the replays will be readily available for you in Facebook and in our thank you page, like our one-stop page. Some other details with the boot camp is that the community is fun because, oh boy, them takeaways that clinicians have seen is like miraculous from a free for now 3-day boot camp. And why do I say for now? My students know what that means. That means that eventually the freeness will go away because I give away way too much information on the freeness. Okay. So let me post these. And so let's see. Heartfelt said last year, the boot camp was really helpful for me. The information alone was very eye-opening. Boot camp helped me seal the deal to join DTA. Okay. But it also just helps you determine what needs to be done in your business. So I am a business coach where I'm not going to say all therapists need my program because all therapists don't. Some of them are very in a very good space, right? Or you may have had already help, right? So the boot camp not only positions you to do certain things in your business, like with the workbooks, like we give you tangible workbooks that you can print out or pull up on your computer, but it also will let you know if DTA is the right fit for you because we do talk about DTA at some point at the end. Okay. Not in the beginning. Okay. Let's see. Now I can officially say that I'm part of DTA. Yeah. So you don't have to join DTA when you come to the boot camp. We've had a lot of people that show up to the Facebook page and then they stay in there, because one of the things as a bonus, but these will be on YouTube, that I'm going to start doing is that because we are revving up for the boot camp, I'm just going to keep going live, and I'll post it in the boot camp saying, hey, if you want to catch the live or the replay for things like this, then if you want to do podcasts, you can do that, but the YouTube video is available for you. And this is just what I love to do, is like really take off the curtain and really answer a lot of people's questions. Okay. So I'm glad that you've enjoyed it today. I'm going to hop off and finish out my Friday. It feels super late, even though it's 1:30. I went for a whole hour. Oh my gosh. Right. But I hope that you found it helpful. I've really enjoyed your presence today. Now do me a favor. I see that some of you are watching live and some of you are going to watch it on the recording. Some of you are listening on the podcast. Huge favor. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It does help me know that the information that I am producing on a free platform like YouTube is desired. It also helps Google recognize when you type into a search box, I'm looking for a therapist business coach, or I'm looking for help with my private practice. Guess what YouTube is? It's an SEO, search engine optimization generator. So when you type in things, if you haven't noticed in Google, what does it do? It pull up YouTube videos first. And I want my YouTube videos to show up, because a lot of therapists don't even know that this help exists. Okay. So yes, Deshay, I finally took a leap of faith last year to join the program, because you've been hearing about it for years, right? Since the beginning. I learned my niche and my value as I complete my hours toward licensure. So yes, DTA is for people who are pre-licensed as well. Okay. And we talk about that at the end of the boot camp. So get the dates for the boot camp, sign up for it. The only way you can get the workbooks is if you're in the Facebook group. We will not be emailing out the workbooks. The only thing we will do is email you telling you the workbook is in the Facebook group. Okay. So I've enjoyed you. Happy Friday. Subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to YouTube. And if you watch it later, leave a comment. That also helps, because I can communicate back and forth to you on YouTube as well, letting me know what was your biggest takeaway. Love you guys. Bye.